quick disclaimer before this video starts, yeah? I'm gonna be smoking a fat old blunt while I'm recording all of it. So if you hear fucking weird breathing or whatever, I'll try and cut most of it out, but if you do, that's because I'm sat here going. And anyways, so yeah, if you hear anything weird, it's because I'm smoking. Alright, I hope you enjoy. So I'm about to take you all on a journey. The biggest journey of my entire life. And this journey, yeah, is when I took 10 tabs of acid with 0 tolerance. So, let me paint a picture for y'all, right? I was doing hella acid back in the day, and I mean hella acid. Like, you catch me doing fucking 5, 6, 7 tabs a week. And when I got started, let me tell you, I was going every single week. It was a new amount of tabs, you know. 1 week it'd be 5, 1 week it'd be 6, next week it'd be 7. And then eventually I did 10. Now, the first time I did 10 was after a week before when I did 7. And the week before that, I did 5 and so on and so forth. So my tolerance, it was nothing, bro. I was giving it a week. I was giving it a week at a time. So, like, my tolerance didn't have no time to go down. So anyway, when I first did 10 tabs, I had a fucking great time, let me tell you. Laying on my bed, just looking at the ceiling, and it was like I could see my thoughts projected on the ceiling, bro. I was seeing the inside of my mind in front of my face, and it was the most beautiful, most holy thing I've ever seen in my life, let me tell you. And so I thought, this is great, yeah. And I remember thinking, if I've got like the highest tolerance right now, what would it be like if I did this on no tolerance? And I was buying from my boy back in the day. I don't know if he wants me to use his real name, so I'll just say Harry, because I mean, yeah. Anyway, so I was getting this acid off my boy Harry, and he was giving me bare. He was like, let me take it for weeks. I was getting like fucking 4 tabs off him every fucking week, up in the dosage. And he was building a new PC, and I'd already given him a few old PC parts I had laying around so I could get some tabs for free, you know? You know how it is. Anyway, and he knows that I know how to build PCs because I built a couple in my lifetime. Anyway, so he messaged me, he's like, listen Josh, yeah? You build this PC for me, I'll give you 5 tabs for free. And bear in mind, at this point, I was buying 5 tabs off him anyway when I was going to see him anyway, because I was going around his house. Because we were going to trip together, I was going to do a 5 tab trip with him. So when he said 5 tabs for free, I'm thinking, 10 tab trip, no tolerance, bro. And let me tell you, I was gassed up because I did not know what I was in for. I was gassed up thinking, bro, that 5 tab trip, first time I did 5 with no tolerance, oh, the trees were beautiful, the floors were showing me mystical patterns, the clouds looked like a Van Gogh painting. I was in awe. So I thought 10 tabs, no tolerance, oh, it's going to be twice as good, you know what I mean? Twice as euphoric, twice as intense. And believe me, it was a lot more than twice as intense, right? Anyway, so we pull up to his house, right? And we go to his bedroom, and we're about to build his PC, right? And this is so embarrassing, man. I hate this. Hate telling this part of the story. So we're sat there in his room, and he's got all the PC parts laid out, and we're building it, you know, as you do. Putting the CPU in, putting the RAM in, and then we get to the GPU. We put the GPU in, and as I'm screwing in the motherboard, I'm thinking, this GPU is going to get in the way of all the other wires, you know what I'm saying? So maybe I should take the GPU out and put the GPU in last. So I took the GPU out. And bear in mind, this motherboard's from 2003, so I pulled the GPU out. I'm thinking like it's going to do all my nice fancy PCs, it's just going to pull right out now. This shit tastes a fucking PCIe board with it. Well, you know what I mean? I pull it out, the PCIe board comes with it, bro. And it's fucking hanging onto the GPU, and I'm like, shit, I fucked up. And I look at Harry, and he's just defeated, man. And I'm like, oh, what have I done? And I felt terrible, right? But we was already out there, and him being the absolute legend he was, he said, fuck it, you can have the 5 tabs for free anyway. I got them here anyway. I ain't gonna do them, you fucking do them. So I'm like, I bet. So I put the 10 tabs on my tongue, right? I put the 10 tabs on my tongue, and immediately, you know when you get the come up on acid and you get the buzzy electric feeling in your stomach, you know, like you just activated some sort of mystical power. That immediately happens the second I swallow these tabs. I am immediately coming up, right? And I look at the ground. Bear in mind, this is 30 seconds after consuming. I look at the ground, and that shit is moving more than I ever seen the ground move in my life. And I'm thinking, oh shit, this is the start. This ain't even the come up. This ain't even the peak. This is the start. And that's when I knew I was fucked. Let me tell you, I knew I was fucked at that point, right? And anyway, so we leave his bedroom. We go outside, yeah. And he's got this huge plot of land, right? On this plot of land, he's got like a secondary little light. It's like a little secondary apartment sort of thing. It's like a small little flat. Anyway, so we go in there, and he's got this massive sofa. He's got a TV. So I'm just jumping on the sofa. I'm laying there. I'm chilling. I'm relaxing. And there's this just giant buzz in the room, and it's buzzing all through my ears, and he's talking, and I can't hear a word he's saying. It's so muffled, and I'm just sat there going, huh? I can't hear you, mate. All I can hear is some fucking buzzing. And he knew what I meant, because he's like an experienced psychonaut or whatever. So he just stopped talking to me, and then this is when it all went wrong, fellas. He then gets me up, and I brought my bong with me. I had a nice little bong at the time. Yeah, it broke now, but whatever. I brought my bong with me, and he pulls the piece out, and he fills that shit out with weed. And we walk over to the fucking windowsill, and he fucking says, light that shit. And bear in mind, I'm already coming up like crazy. I'm high as fuck. And I'm pulling on it, but I didn't put my finger over the hole, you know what I mean? So it ain't pulling, it ain't doing nothing, and I'm confused as fuck. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why is it not doing absolutely fuck all? And he's like, no, you gotta put that finger over the hole. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I like that shit. I spark it, I suck that shit up, and I go sit down on his sofa again. That's the last thing I fully consciously remember, bro. Next thing you know, yeah, I'm laying on the floor, right? I'm twisting and turning. I'm looking around, and I'm suddenly realizing the geometry has just completely gone, and I'm just floating in this fucking separate inner dimension, just floating in a void. And the world around me is starting to crumble and crumble, and I'm starting to make out blurs of shapes and objects, and I realise I make out a blur of a person. Now bear in mind, I had no clue what was going on. I'd forgotten who I was at this point. I'd forgotten where I was. I forgot what I was doing. So I just saw this blur, and I started grabbing it. I started going, where am I? Where am I? And then it was Harry, and he was going, you're in my flat. And I was like, what have I done? And he was like, you've taken acid. And I went, how long is this going to last? And he said, a couple hours. And I just remember screaming, a couple hours. And I was stuck in this loop of asking this thing over and over and over and over again. And then the next thing I know, I'm laying on the field outside his house, and I'm trying to get up. And as I'm getting up, I realise, what the fuck is going on? I get up, I go to stand up, boom, I'm laying on the field again. I get up, go to stand up, boom, I'm laying on the field. I realise I'm stuck in a time loop, bro. A fucking time loop. So I'm in a time loop of me trying to get up, and I can't get up off this field because I'm just fucking stuck looping and looping and looping, with what felt like fucking an hour, 2 hours. Anyway, next thing I know, I'm walking up this fucking pathway, right? This is just cutting pieces in my brain. I don't remember the full thing. Don't remember how I got there. Don't remember what I was doing. Anyway, I'm walking up this fucking pathway, and I'm seeing just shapes and colours, and the bushes are like poking out at me, and they're screaming at me. And I'm hearing in my head, I'm hearing 1 tab, 2 tab, 3 tab, and it's going up, and it's counting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And then it gets to 10 tabs, and suddenly I'm caught in another time loop of me walking up the path. And then secondary, I then get caught in a time loop where I punched Harry, because I was completely out of it, and I just started hitting things because I was so scared, and I punched him, and he got pissed at me because he was a bit high himself. I'm pretty sure he took like 2 tabs or something, and he got pissed at me, and he punched me back, and I got stuck in a time loop for like what felt like half an hour of him just punching me repeatedly over and over again, feeling the pain of his punch over and over and over again. And it was the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life, and it was like, oh bro, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And then suddenly, right after these time loops take place, all these punches and all this shit and all that, I'm suddenly on his driveway. I'm flashback. I'm pinned up against his car. I'm falling against his car out in his garage, and I look over, and there's his dad and him standing there, and they're trying to calm me down. And I'm laying on the ground. I'm rolling on the ground. I got no clothes on. I'm rolling on the ground. I'm getting dirt all over me. And then suddenly cuts again. And suddenly I'm in Harry's car, and we're driving back to my house, and the radio plays, and the radio turns on, and it's just some audio from an old FaceTime call. And then suddenly I'm transported into the moment when the FaceTime call happened, and I'm suddenly sat on my bed listening to this FaceTime call from like 3 years ago, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And suddenly I wake up as if the entire thing was a dream. I wake up, I'm in my bed. It's completely dark. I look at my phone. Time's 4:50 in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I wake up. My mum stood at the doorway, and I say to her, what the fuck happened? And she said, you've been staring at the wall for 8 hours. Harry dropped you back, and you have just been doing nothing but staring at the wall for 8 hours, and you haven't said a word, bro. And that's all that happened, bro. That's all that happened from my perspective. I just went through this fucking crazy wind tunnel of just like fucking an acid dimension, just like melting my brain, and physics put a stall in, and all I could see was shapes and colours. And let me tell you folks, you do not ever want to do this high dose of acid, because it will absolutely fuck you up, man. I had like flashbacks and everything for time. At first, all that happened to me was I took the tabs and suddenly I woke up. But then more and more in the day, I started getting more flashbacks to the trip and realising over and over again shit that had happened in the trip, and it proper fucked me up, man. and I didn't do acid again for a very, very, very long time after that. It happened, what, July 2022, I think, and I don't think I did acid until maybe like a month or two ago again. Like, yeah, that shit fucked me up. So anyway, that's my story time. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys were smoking along with me, because I was smoking this fat old doobie right now. Let me relight it. I'll do one last little puffy before the video ends. I know you can't see me, but still. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.